Hello again and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out the Overland Vehicle Systems Nomadic 4 Rooftop Tent. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts on it and maybe answer some questions that you might have if you're considering whether or not to purchase a rooftop tent, whether or not it's going to fit the style of camping that you have. So stick around and we'll take a few minutes and go through this. I'm going to show you some things I like, some things I don't like, and maybe come to a little bit of a conclusion of whether or not it's for you. The first thing to really talk about, I think, with something like this is the build quality. You don't want to spend a ton of money and get something that's cheap or poorly made or something that's just going to wear out in a year. And that's one of the things that sold me on the OVS brand in general. But you can go online, just look at the description of the materials that they use to build this thing, as well as just what you can see as far as the hardware goes. It looks excellent. It looks really well built. And looks like it's something that whenever you invest in something like this, you're going to get your return on the quality. And if you maintain it and take good care of it, it'll last you a really long time. Just from really just every part of what I've seen, from the ladder, the mounting hardware, the T-tracks underneath, all that stuff, especially inside in the hinge points where the where it folds in the middle. All of that seems to be really well built and really clean. Used nice quality, I believe from their website, marine grade hardware. So I live in Florida, and sometimes maybe in near saltier environments with the beaches and different things, or at least the sand, whatnot. So corrosion is a concern, but maybe not as big of one if it's being taken care of. So all that's really good. Build quality, in my opinion, is excellent. The design overall is really good too. I think a lot of these are very similar as far as the way that they work and the way they function, but just like the material and the quality of the material, I think is really, really good. Another big selling point for me was the mattress. I believe on the OVS it's a 2.5-inch mattress pad. It's one of the thicker ones that came with it, from the factory. And from my experience, we've camped in it maybe a dozen times, maybe a little less than that, but about a dozen times. And it's really comfortable. And so it's not, obviously it's not going to compete with your mattress at home, just the way it is. It's only a 2.5-inch pad, but for what it is really comfortable. I like it a lot. If anything, I would just go buy another mattress pad, like a memory foam thing off Amazon or something, just to add a little bit more cushion. Or if you have a sleeping pad already, with other camping gear that you might have, you can just throw that in there, sleep on top of that, and that'll give you that extra layer of comfort already with the mattress that's built in there. The setup for the OVS Nomadic 4 is pretty simple. It is not seamless, we should say that, but for what it is a relatively simple process. Basically, you just got to remove that protective cover. Once you get the cover all the way off, there's some tie-down straps that keep it folded nice and snug while you're traveling. You remove those Velcro straps, extend your ladder all the way out, and then you use the ladder to pivot the tent and kind of unfold it, bring it all the way down. You adjust your ladder to get it to the right height, and I like to even lift it up a little bit and allow the ladder to support some of the weight of the tent. That way it's not all falling on the roof rack of my car. And so the ladder itself can support a decent amount of weight, and so if you lift that end a little bit and allow that to settle into the ground, the ladder will take some of that load off of the vehicle, and that way you're staying level. It's not, the weight of the tent's not leaning it to one side as much. But once you get that up, then with this one, because it has the hang over the ladder, it's got the bar that supports that. You got to install that to get this up and all the way out as it is here. After that, then you're going to take down some of the elastic straps that are on the inside, and those are used so that when you fold it, it tries to draw everything in, and that way you don't have any more material trying to get out than necessary, right? So you got to undo those, and then you put up the guide rods for your little awnings or whatever you want to call them there. So that's once you do those things, you're basically set up. There are some additional things to do. There are some tie downs here, which if you're in windy or rainy conditions, you're gonna wanna tie this down tight. That way the wind doesn't blow it away and water doesn't pool on the roof, which I've had that happen. So you wanna tie those down just to shore it up. But if it's not windy, it's not rainy, you don't really have to do that. But other than that, you're pretty much set. You can watch some other videos. I don't have them out now. You've got the gear bags, like your shoe bag and some other things that you can slide into the tracks here. Those are excellent and great quality on the OVS systems. Highly recommend those. But those are literally a 10-second setup and it's there. You slide it on the track, you're done. The setup, like I say, is not seamless, but it's easy. All that to being said though, we'll talk about this a little bit later. It's maybe not all it's cracked up to be. It's not as simple as a lot of overland videos or tent videos would like you to think, or even the manufacturer maybe. The things that you have to do with this, you don't have to do with a traditional ground tent, but there are perks to a traditional ground tent, so don't get me wrong. But overall, it's a relatively simple process. The video makes it look like it takes about a minute, when in reality it takes 5 to 10, depending on how efficient you are and how many times you've done it. The more familiar you get, the faster you get. So it's not as quick and easy as you would maybe think, but nonetheless, it is a relatively easy process. Well, now that it's gotten dark, let me show you a really cool feature of the inside of the tent here. And that is this included LED light strip that Velcros really to anything you want. I've got it to the center support beam up here, Velcroed to that. And I've got the power cable just wrapped around this side here. It just runs down the side, has a USB-A plug, and you can just plug it into a power bank or something like that. And you've got light. Me personally, I like warmer lights anyway. This is just a really cool white tone. And so I usually have lanterns hanging from in here, that kind of stuff, just to make it a little homier and cozier. That's just what I like. But if you want a really simple approach to your tent and you want as minimal of a setup process as possible, what I do, I leave this on here all the time. I don't have to take it on and off. I leave it. I've got the cord wrapped in such a way so that when it folds, it doesn't crimp or cut the cable. And so I can just keep it tucked in a little storage pocket over here. And when I need it, I pull it out, plug it in to my power source, hit the power button, and I've got light. It's a great feature. It's super nice that it can be in here all the time. And like I said, you can move it anywhere you want. I've got it on the center one, but I'm thinking actually about putting it on the outside over here on the bar that holds up this overhang so that I can have an exterior light at night, because I usually don't use this as my main interior light. So you can move it wherever you want it to go. If I remember right, yeah, it's got the little rounded side. So if you want, you can put this in the groove. After it's folded out, you can slide it in that slot and have it mounted on 3 sides, not 3 at once, but one of 3 sides. Really, it's really customizable. So really neat feature, and it's nice to have something this bright, just lights up the whole tent, makes it super nice for you at night. Let me take just a couple of minutes here and share some pros and cons with you. Some pros to this thing. One, you don't need any bedding. Obviously, we've already talked about it. The bedding is made into the tent. So maybe you're going to bring a sleeping bag or some blankets, but you don't have to bring a mattress pad if you don't want to. You don't have to bring an air mattress if you don't want to. It's all built in. So a lot of people I know will take a blanket or maybe even some sleeping bags and actually fold the tent up with them inside it so that when they get to their site, they open it up and all their stuff is already there. I personally have not tried that yet. I've just wanted it to be as compact as I can get it, but I hear you can do that. But even if you don't, you're bringing a pillow and a sleeping bag maybe, throwing it in your car, you get it set up, you throw out your sleeping bag, you're good. So you don't have to bring any bedding. That's a big thing. Another awesome thing is that you have a solid flat surface all the time. You don't have to worry about an air mattress going flat. You don't have to worry about having bumps or if you're sleeping on the ground and maybe there's a stick or there's just an uneven spot on the ground that you're dealing with and it's underneath your back or something like that. You don't have to worry about that with this thing because the surface that you're sleeping on is a consistently flat surface. And if you take your time when you're setting up, you can make sure that you get your car level and your tent level so that once it's unfolded, it's pretty much flat. And so that's a really nice thing as well. Being off the ground is a huge perk. One of the things that maybe a lot of people think is that because you're off the ground, you're a lot safer from animals and wildlife around you. And that may be true for ants, but I think that's about it. I think anything else as far as wildlife, raccoons, bears, squirrel, whatever, if they want in this tent, they're getting in this tent. But the reality is that's the same for a ground tent. And you don't really hear too much about that, so I don't think that's a huge concern as long as you're not sleeping with food inside your tent or doing stupid things that's going to get you in trouble. But having a surface off the ground is great for things like ants. Here in Florida, you got a ton of ants. And so you don't want to have to mess with those or have to deal with an ant that's crawling up through your tent and then crawling on you at night. That's not a lot of fun. And so being off the ground helps with that. It also helps if it's raining, because now all of your water's running off and you're not sleeping on an object where the water's collecting. And so being off the ground allows the water to run off really well, and just make sure that you're staying as dry as possible. You what?
In the tent now.
You want to go in the tent now?
I want my big
It's up in the tent. Something else that I really like about the tent is the ventilation. You've got windows on all four sides. That's nothing new when it comes to tents. Obviously, ventilation's a huge thing, and so pretty much every tent's going to have really good ventilation. But there's something I think about being off the ground where it gets you a little bit higher, you get more of a breeze. And because the inside, the interior space is smaller, the breeze just seems to be more effective and more efficient. So with all of the window portions down and the screens up, you do get a really good sense of ventilation. And something that's really nice with the second generation of the Nomadic tents is on the rain fly, you have a skylight. And the skylight comes standard. You don't have to pay anything extra for that. One thing that I was hoping for is to be able to look through the skylight at stars at night, but because it's a plastic material, it crinkles and ripples. And so you don't really get a crystal clear view out unless you take your rain fly off all the way. But nonetheless, it does allow light in during the day, and you can see the moon and the stars. It just kind of looks like you're looking through crinkled plastic. So, but nonetheless, for light, for ventilation, you do have all of that there, and that helps a lot. And then one last pro that I have is this ladder. I know a lot of ladders that came with earlier models of rooftop tents were kind of the sliding ones that tended to have complications and issues. And so this telescoping ladder that comes standard with this OVS Nomadic 4, and I believe all the Nomadic series tents nowadays, is really good. I haven't had a problem with it. It extends well. It's really strong and sturdy. It doesn't feel weak at all. So really great ladders. Those are just some pros that I have to this tent. No matter what type of adventure you're going on nowadays, you're going to end up using this little cap on the back of your car, putting some gas into your vehicle. And let's just face it, gas prices are not cheap, especially in today's economy. So let me give you a little tip that I think will save you some money. You may have heard about it, but let me just briefly explain what it is. I think it's in your best interest to hear me out for just a couple of minutes. I'm going to talk to you about Upside. Upside is an app that you can go and find discounted gas prices. How it works is you're going to pay full price at the pump, but Upside is going to recognize your card number through the transaction history of that gas station, and they're going to credit you a certain amount of money per gallon that you put into your vehicle. And over time it accumulates, and it doesn't go to points or rewards or certain gimmicky things. It goes straight to actual cash back, whatever you want, a gift card, a cash card, or like what I do, I get a direct deposit of cash to my bank account whenever I want to deposit it in. It's a really good thing, and it helps you out a lot. And here's why I think you'll want to do it. To me, there's a code in the description, and if you use my code, it gets me like a penny per transaction, per gallon that you do. We don't even use the penny anymore, so it's not significant. But for you, it can be significant. I personally have saved over $400 in gas money, and that's cash back to my bank account. And the way prices are nowadays, any dollar can help. So gas stations are offering you these prices at discounted rates, but they're still making a profit on it, which means that if you don't use Upside, you are literally throwing money away. So why not go check out Upside? It's free to use. There's no subscription. There's no fees. It's only money back into your bank account. And it makes it so that you can spend more time on the trail, less time at the pump, and it's definitely more of a peace of mind knowing that you're not spending any more money than you have to on gas. All right, now for some cons to this tent. Like I said, it's an excellent tent, but there are some drawbacks. The first obvious one is the cost. It's just, they're so much more expensive than pretty much every ground tent out there, at least every practical ground tent that 99% of people would use. And so unless you are hardcore overlanding, or if you're like me and you just really wanted something that you could throw on your car and just go for like little one-night adventures, you know, that's kind of why I got this, just to have something that we can throw in the car and throw the kids in the car and get away for a night or two. That's really the idea. But if that's not you or how you would use it, it's really hard to get over the cost. Now, I found this one on Facebook Marketplace at a very discounted rate, and come to find out it was brand new. It still was in the saran wrap. So the Lord was very good to me and allowed me to pick up this tent at a very affordable price. And if you look on there, you can find a ton of used ones. And so, you know, start there. I think just, you know, be smart with making sure you're buying one that's quality, but getting the, you know, best bang for your buck. So I wouldn't recommend buying new. I think I would start at Marketplace and just see what's there. So that's a good place to go, but that doesn't discount the fact that the cost is a big problem. The next thing is probably the next biggest issue, and it might be a 1A and 1B situation. And that is that once you get this tent set up, you can't move. And I've heard other people say this, and so I knew it was coming, but that's the reality. If you're a traditional camping scenario where you're going to a campground and you want to go do things, if you're using this as your main tent, or really as any tent, and you wake up in the morning and you want to go somewhere, you have to fold all of this up. And that's a hassle and a half. And you don't want to have to do that each and every day. And if you're in an overlanding situation, you're starting at one place and you're traveling to another, and then you're setting up camp that night, that's a little different. That's part of the experience. But for most people, you're going to want to be able to move around. So unless this tent is on a trailer or something else that you can disconnect from your vehicle and park it and leave, it may not be the best idea for you. For us and for how I use it, it works. And for probably how most people use it, it works. But it is a big negative drawback that once you set this thing up, you're stuck. I mean, maybe you can move your car around to adjust it, but you're not driving down the road with it like this, obviously. So that's a big problem too. Another thing that I've come across, and I mentioned it earlier, is this front rain fly, because it has the overhang. We spent a night in a lot of rain, and I woke up in the morning and this had puddled up big time. Now, I think the reason for that, there are 3 D-clips here. I did not use the middle one, and had I cinched down the middle, I think it would have kept the water off. But as a result now, because that happened, it is a lot looser and stretched out, and it's just going to be a constant problem for me. I think I have a solution for what to do, and I'll probably make a video on how to do that or what that looks like down the road. So there is a workaround, but if you get a tent, just be aware that that tendency is just going to be there. It's too big of an area, and if there's not enough slope, it is going to puddle and create some problems for you. So that's one thing that maybe could have been designed a little bit better, but 9 times out of 10, probably not going to be an issue. And then one more con, and that is that the setup process of this thing is just not drastically better than many ground tents. As a matter of fact, there's so many instant ground tents that claim 90-second or 2-minute setup, and I think that's probably pretty accurate. So if you can get one of those tents, you literally can be set up and be moving stuff in about 2 to 3 times quicker than it will take to set up this tent. Now, if you get like a hard shell or a clamshell tent, you know, a 2 or 3 person tent like that, it's a little bit different story, right? Those are legitimate 1 minute up and you're done kind of things, obviously with the exception of the guide rods. But this one, it just takes a little bit longer, but that's part of the design. And this is the Nomadic 4, which claims to sleep 4 people, and it does. Our family of 4 can sleep in here. It's just a little bit bigger, it just takes a little bit more time, and that's just part of it. And I'm okay with that, but many people may not be. And so just be aware that it is not as smooth and seamless as you would think. All right, so for some final thoughts, I feel like I'm just going to say many of the same things that I've already said. So let's not drag this out too long. Really, I think it's an excellent tent. I think it's great quality. I think it's built really well. And for us, it has not let us down. It's been a great experience sleeping up in one of these things. And let's face it, a castle in the sky is just really cool for kids, for your family, and for me personally, with a kid at heart, I really enjoy things like this. And so having a rooftop tent to be able to go out, park, set up shop, and it's a really great scenario. So obviously there are the cons, some of the drawbacks that we talked about, but everything's going to have pros and cons. And so it's really just what you want to fool with, what you want to deal with. And for me, I think the pros drastically outweigh the cons with the way that we utilize this tent. But I would be really curious to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about these tents. If there's major drawbacks that's kind of a deal breaker for you, or if it's worth the money. I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see what a lot of people think about these rooftop tents. And if there's something that you have a question about this tent, leave it in the comments. I will answer it. I look at all those. You got questions, you got comments, things you want to know, whatever it is, leave it in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one.